will never forget the day that I arrived at my very first student pulpit in Columbus, Indiana, 16 years ago this week. I walked into the coffee shop to meet my host family, and on the way in, I picked up a local newspaper from the stack in the entryway and started flipping through the pages. Well, lo and behold, there I was, staring right back at me. My picture was in the local paper. Evidently, the arrival of the student rabbi each year was headline news. And if that didn't provide a much-needed confidence boost, next to my picture was a positively glowing biographical description of me. I mean, boy, did I sound good on paper. So I began reading over my accomplishments, my successes, my qualifications for the job, proofreading the article not only for accuracy of the facts, but for subtle changes in wording, because, you see, I had written it. The temple president had requested a bio from me a month or so prior so that she could introduce me to the congregation in their bulletin. I never expected the bio to end up in the local newspaper, but thankfully, I had put my best foot forward, because that's just what we do when we're trying to make a good first impression, right? We share the good things about ourselves. We share the shining moments, the things that we are proud of. Because that's what we've been taught. We're taught to look sharp, dress for the job we want, get a good haircut the day before, and make sure your nails are done. Use your formal name, be polite at lunch, be crafty when they ask you about your weaknesses. Always pick something you can put a positive spin on, like, oh, I could be too much of a perfectionist. Don't hesitate to boast about yourself. You want the job, don't you? Well, given that we are so indoctrinated to show only our good side when meeting somebody for the first time, I find the situation we are in right now, all of us in this room, to be a little unusual. It is an odd time of year to make a first impression. We are sitting here tonight in the midst of the month of Elul, when as Jews we are called upon to reflect not how brightly we've shined over the course of the year, but how we have failed to shine. With the Day of Atonement just 2 weeks away, we are asked to contemplate who we've harmed, come to terms with our behaviors that need changing, and plumb the depths of our humility in preparing to ask for forgiveness. Tomorrow night begins Slichot, a time for reciting penitential prayers, for kicking the soul-searching into high gear and really focusing on where we have fallen short in this past year. And join us tomorrow at 9 p.m. in this very room. So we do this all now so that when we stand together in Yom Kippur to recite Ashamnu, Bagadnu, we are guilty, we have committed offenses, when we spell out our collective alphabet of woe, we will recognize which of these words apply to us, and we will utter them with sincere remorse. But what a strange time to make a first impression. How exactly are we expected to put our best foot forward when we're supposed to be focused on how imperfect each of us really are? Hi, I'm Jen, your new student rabbi. I'm actually quite flawed, and I've made a lot of mistakes this year. It's so nice to meet you, and I'd reach out my hand to shake yours, but right now I'm using it to beat my chest. It reminds me of that Seinfeld episode when George decides to do the opposite of what his intuition tells him to do and approaches a beautiful woman in a coffee shop with the unconventional pickup line, "Hi, I'm George, I'm unemployed, and I live with my parents." Not exactly putting his best foot forward, or so it seems, but in that Seinfeld episode, a surprising thing happens. The woman responds favorably. She's intrigued, she's flirty, she's interested in getting to know George better. It is counterintuitive. Laying his real, less than stellar self on the line on the front end actually gets him a date. So maybe there's something to it. Maybe it's not such a bad thing for a relationship to begin with honesty, humility, and realistic expectations. Sure, you'd never present yourself as flawed to a prospective business client. After all, who wants someone who makes mistakes, say, marketing their product or preparing their tax return? But we're not here in synagogue tonight to market products or to do each other's taxes. Well, most of us, thank God. We are here to enter into relationship, a relationship in which we help one another to become better people, a covenant through study, through prayer, through music, through acts of loving kindness, and through teshuvah. We will spend this year helping each other become the people we aspire to be and the people that God knows each of us can grow into. So it kind of makes sense to begin from a place of humility. It may be an odd time of year to make a first impression, but it is the perfect season to enter into covenant, because our covenant is about striving. Face to face with where we've fallen short, we meet one another with a clearer view of what we are striving for. Face to face with our failings, we can commit ourselves more devotedly to reaching our individual and collective aspirations. Admittedly, it's not so easy to start a relationship from a place of humility, to admit to ourselves and to others, especially those we barely know, that we are flawed. But fortunately, our tradition facilitates this process. It says, none of us, nobody has to go first. The words of the vidui, the confession we recite on Yom Kippur, Ashamnu, Bagadnu, these words are in the plural. They're not singular. We are guilty. We have committed offenses. I can't admit I'm not perfect if you don't admit that you're not perfect too. So we'll do it together, all at the same time, all in the same room. And our tradition also makes it clear that no one's exempt from this covenant of striving. No one's exempt, no one stands superior to one's neighbor. Our Torah portion this week begins, Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem. You stand this day, all of you, before God, all of you. Your tribal heads, your elders, your officials, your men, your women, your children, the strangers in your camp, your wood chopper, your water drawer, your rabbi, your temple president, kulchem. All of us stand together to enter into the covenant before God, because we're all striving to be better people. There's room in our covenant for all of us to grow. Relationship only works if we stand together. Nobody has to go first, but nobody is exempt. In Israel, people congregate in the streets on Yom Kippur, talking, hugging, making amends. We don't have to stand alone in our imperfection, trembling in our sandals before God. We need one another's support in the task that lies before us. We need each other. So we all like to put our best foot forward when making a first impression. It's only natural. But the time of year and the nature of the relationship that we are entering into here are anything but ordinary. The days ahead are holy days. And the covenant we're forming tonight is a sacred one. Both demand the utmost humility, and both demand that we stand together. With tradition as our guide, our liturgy, our Torah, our customs, our God, the year ahead can only bring blessings and growth. It's a weird time of year, but it is the perfect season to enter into this covenant, and I look forward to standing in covenant alongside you in the days and weeks and months to come. May it be a Shana Tova for everybody.